This is Pinterest. If you love to build Minecraft or just architecture in general, this might be the best place in the entire world to get your inspiration from. But most of you already know this. We've all been there at least once, scrolling through countless buildings, landscapes, and AI-generated slop, when suddenly something caught our eye. Usually because it was something in the direction of what we were looking for, but sometimes just because it was insane. Yeah, there's a lot of insane things on Pinterest, and in this series, I'm trying to bring these things to life in a video game. This right here, my friends, is what I call the monstrosity. It's, well, a monstrosity. In my countless videos on Pinterest, I've stumbled across this thing multiple times. Maybe I'm not the only one? Let me know if this thing's famous or something. Anyways, for some reason, I was insane enough to convince myself that I should build it. And while this is not the craziest project I have worked on, I have never built a project this scale by myself. Well, except my cathedrals, but I have a feeling that they will look pretty small next to this thing. Okay, first things first, I installed a mod that lets me build up to 2,000 blocks, as I'm not too sure, but I do think we'll exceed the building limit. Okay, maybe not to this scale, but this is a good start, okay? We'll probably go up to half of it. Okay, so I've been assessing the situation for quite a while now, and I think I found the perfect spot to start. Now, to answer why, you first have to understand how important the first step is. You see, when starting a project, the very first thing you build dictates the scale of everything else, since you'll base all the other things around it. Now, going with that logic, some might say I should start with the pillars since they're the most complicated part of the build, but you're wrong, because of this one single thing that we can do with the arches. You see, after counting these rows of arches right here, I know that the building is exactly 28 arches wide and 28 arches long. So yeah, I basically just got the exact measurements for this build just by counting the arches. So all we gotta do now is set a scale for them. I think a scale of 10 blocks should be enough. Yep, that seems good. So then I decided to change it up and I went with a smaller design. Oh, you know what? Maybe this isn't big enough. Okay, yeah, I'm an idiot. I went back to the original. And so with scale being said, now I just had to expand it and make it bigger once again. You can see on the picture that the arches go more outwards with each layer, so I designed it like a little stairway and then filled the whole thing up. Now this is already looking pretty cool, but it's definitely missing some things. So this is where the details come in. As you can see, I made this little gap between each layer, which just gave it a bit more contrast, made it stand out more, and it just looked way better. The top section of arches invoked my interest as it was detailed quite interestingly with these little circles sticking out, so I replicated it and slapped a roof on top. While I think that the red wall kinda looks cool, I changed it up for stone as it's kind of the darker version of pale, I guess. And with a little gradient, it almost gives the effect as if there's lighting coming from the right. Our body's already looking pretty cool, but we still have to do the floor. Now, usually the floor is one of the least important parts of the build, but since our thing is literally floating 300 blocks in the air, probably more, not gonna lie, it's one of the areas that will get seen the most. Which is exactly why I spent hours making these little designs on the bottom of each tile, and I think it looks pretty good. Now, the original picture doesn't even have those, but I think it actually adds quite a lot to the build. And yeah, that is the main body of the build. It's done. Now, in case you didn't get it, this was by far the easiest part of the build, okay? I mean, think about it. In comparison to these curves and endless cities, this was literally just a giant upside down stairway. Speaking about the curves, I hate them so much. I can't even like really figure out what's depicted on the paper. It's so hard, and I kind of have a problem because for some reason I'm too dumb to make this an actual square. I know how I did it, okay? Look at this line. It's perfect. It's so good. And then this. What have I done? How did I mess it up? This is like the easiest task ever. I'm such an idiot. So yeah, time to redo this whole thing. Great. Love it. Okay, so I'm not messing it up this time. Now, to start with the pillars is actually quite easy, and I figured it out after a couple of minutes. Then I added in the circle from the picture, and now it's actually getting complicated. Now, I stared at the shape for a couple of hours until I actually figured out what to do with it, but once I got the right idea, I got to work, and it's looking not too bad, I'd say. So I figured out this part right here, and this arch. Now, this arch we can copy over, so we're basically done with this. So the only thing that's left is this centerpiece right there. Now, since the resolution of our centerpiece isn't too good, you can't actually see what's here, but on the other pillar, you can actually see what's going on. Okay, let me explain what's going on here. So this is an eye. This is the dragon's mouth, and these are ears. So yeah, we have to build a dragon in the center, or a dragon head at least, which is easier said than done. Now, thankfully, my buddy Milan has been designing dragons, so I just ripped off the head and tried fitting it in, but it doesn't quite work. It's a good bit too small, so I did a pretty weird tech where I just moved all the corners to the side and then connected everything up, and it actually kind of worked. Now, that dragon is still looking too realistic though, since ours is looking kind of goofy. I'm not even sure, it might have its tongue out. So what I did is I took the mouth and then added everything else onto it. The dragon hat is done, so now it's time for the copy pasting. Now, to be real, the dragon hat is still a little too small, so there's a lot of empty space, but I really don't want to redo it. So I just thought, let's add some of our own designs to kind of fill up the space. I made use of the new copper chains, which is nice. Then I textured everything to diorite since our build is going to be white. Copied them things over and added in the waves. Okay, this is looking absolutely magnificent. I love it. Yeah, we can move on. Let's continue the kind of pillars. All right, so the main pillars are about 2.5 times as big as our main body section, so that's 120 blocks, something like that. So let's take a wall and stack it all the way up to 120, or maybe 150. I'll probably go with 150 since it's pushed back a little. Oh yeah, that one fit. Alright, we gotta move the whole thing up. That should be high enough, I think. Alright, 150 was a bit too tall, so I went back to 120. Alright, so now we have to build this whole part, which shouldn't be too hard. I mean, it's just some arches, right? We've done enough arches already, so let's do it. So yeah, this is by far the easiest part. No complicated shapes, no nothing. Just pillars with some arches. Now on the base, it's a little bit more difficult, but it's still really easy. No trouble there. This is looking just amazing. I love it. It's looking so good now. Now, one thing I'm not too sure about are the proportions. I kind of feel like the pillars are a bit too big for the main body. I'm thinking that it's more a problem with the picture because, you know, I kind of measured everything out. So it should be right. I just think the picture used the depth a little bit more differently, which is why it looks less stretched. Alright, so we've officially finished almost everything of the main structure, except this little stairway. So let's tackle that. So I think it's fair to say that the stairway extends out as much as this thing is wide. It should be the same length, shouldn't it? Yeah, it's basically the same length, so we just gotta extend it out. Now, this was the very first stairway design I made. Now, I realized that the original one doesn't have these cutouts, so I made another one, and then I also experimented with one using full blocks and slabs, but it was a bit too long, so I decided on the second design. So the stairway is done, but right down the center, it's still looking a little bit boring. So what I'm thinking is let's decorate the place. Now, I'm not sure what direction I want to go to, but I think it's gonna be like almost like a train station kind of style with like, I don't know, just decorative items, benches, like a big trade hub, something like that. Alright, it's looking a little bit empty, but I think the more I add, the less functionality it has, as things will be obstructing the way. So I feel like having it empty makes sense, as it's some sort of a plaza. And yeah, I mean, this is already looking pretty good. So I've already started kind of painting in the basic shapes of the buildings, and I'm not too sure how effective that is, but I think I'll continue it till I got somewhat figured out. Okay, so I'm starting to add in some of the houses, and I'm actually realizing that this is quite difficult. I know, building cities is difficult. That's crazy, right? Anyways, I'm building row by row, starting the very front right now, until we hopefully have a good looking city. Originally, I wanted to go for darker gray color palette, but I realized that it's looking kinda ass, so I switched it up for diorite. Alright, so now it's slowly starting to take shape, and I'm also getting into more complicated builds, which is the reason why it looks a bit better now. Alright, this is the result right now. It's already kind of starting to take shape. The goal is to kind of have it be like a pyramid almost. Like all the roofs of the spiky towers end up somewhere in the middle and then have it go down like a pyramid. And I can somewhat see the shape in here already, right? So how about we do one big final time lapse to finish out this build? It is finally done. Well, kind of. Now, the city is not an exact one-to-one copy, but I mean, come on. You gotta cut me some slack there. It's literally an entire city. And it's pretty similar, as you can see. Now, all the way down here, this thing looks massive. And that's for a good reason. This thing is over 400 blocks tall. Now, obviously not even close to the 2,000 block limit. I don't know who would build something that's that huge. You wouldn't even be able to see everything from down here, but yeah. And my other builds look extremely small next to this one. This is easily my biggest one yet. Now, in case you're interested in buying any of these builds behind me and many more, you can get all of them on my Patreon. And yeah, that's it for the video. Hope you liked it.